Throughout history, the world has seen countless dangerous criminals, but in the South American country of Colombia, there once lived a man who wasn't just feared and powerful, but also one of the richest people on the planet. This was the undisputed king of cocaine, who by the late 1980s had amassed a fortune of nearly $25 billion. At that time, Colombia's total GDP was around $39 billion, meaning this one man controlled nearly 65% of his country's economy. His gang didn't count money, they weighed it by the kilo. He had so much cash that entire warehouses were filled with it, and every year, rats would chew through almost 10% of his earnings. He spent his money like water, buying private islands, planes, submarines, mansions, soccer fields, and even his own private zoo. To keep his daughter warm one night, he famously burned millions of dollars in cash. Yet even after all that, his wealth barely changed. This man lived by one rule: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Either take the money and join him, becoming rich for generations, or refuse and face death. Because of this rule, everyone feared him. From police and ministers to judges and journalists, nearly everyone was in his pocket. Anyone who went against him met a violent end. Over his criminal reign, he was responsible for the deaths of more than 4,000 people, including over 600 police officers. His name alone sent chills through Colombia. He was so powerful that even the nation's laws could be rewritten at his command. When he was finally arrested, it was on his own terms. He agreed to go to prison only if the prison was built by him, guarded by his own men, and furnished with every luxury imaginable. This is the story of Pablo Escobar, the richest and most notorious drug lord the world has ever seen, a man whose legend still echoes decades after his death. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was born in December 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia. He was the third of 7 children. His father was a farmer and his mother was a school teacher. When he was still young, the family moved to Medellin, where Pablo grew up. In school, he once dreamed of becoming a lawyer or even the president of Colombia. But as he grew older, his dreams changed. He realized that true power didn't come from politics or law. It came from money. Financial struggles forced him to drop out of school, and he made a promise to himself. If he didn't make $1 million pesos by the age of 25, he would end his life. That obsession with wealth pushed him into crime. He started small, selling fake diplomas, smuggling stereo equipment, and stealing tombstones. But soon, he moved on to car theft and kidnapping wealthy people for ransom. If the victim's family refused to pay, he killed them without hesitation. By the age of 22, he had already become a millionaire. In 1974, he was arrested for car theft, but after bribing the police, he was released. Escobar realized that bribery and intimidation could make anyone bend to his will. By the mid-1970s, he discovered the cocaine trade, a business that made everything else look small. At that time, American demand for cocaine was skyrocketing, and Colombian smugglers were making fortunes. Escobar saw his opportunity. He learned the trade, built connections with producers and corrupt officials, and soon decided to create his own empire. In 1975, he had Medellin's top cocaine trafficker assassinated and forced the rest of his men to work for him. A year later, he partnered with the Ochoa brothers, Carlos Later and José Rodríguez Gacha, to form the Medellin Cartel, controlling cocaine production, transportation, and distribution. Escobar used creative smuggling methods, hiding cocaine in car tires, televisions, fish bellies, and even airplane tires. He paid his pilots $500,000 per flight. His empire grew rapidly, and soon he began smuggling from Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador into the U.S. By 1976, he married Maria Victoria Henao, who was only 15 at the time. But that same year, he was again arrested when police found 40 pounds of cocaine hidden in his car tires. Using bribes and threats, he escaped prison and murdered the agents who had arrested him. This was when he publicly introduced his rule: silver or lead. Soon, the Medellin cartel became the largest cocaine network in the world, shipping an estimated 80% of America's cocaine supply. Escobar was making more than $420 million every week, earning the nickname the King of Cocaine. He bought vast properties, including a 7,000-acre estate called Hacienda Nápoles, featuring an airstrip, a private zoo with elephants, giraffes, hippos, and exotic animals smuggled from abroad, as well as a bullfighting ring, lakes, and swimming pools. His wealth made him untouchable, but he wanted something more: political power. To protect his empire, he turned himself into a Robin Hood figure, building houses, hospitals, and sports fields for the poor. People loved him, and in 1982, he was elected to the Colombian parliament. For a while, Escobar enjoyed legitimacy, even representing Colombia in Spain as an official delegate. But soon, journalists and ministers began exposing his criminal past. Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla launched an investigation, revealing Escobar's true empire. Furious, Escobar had him assassinated in 1984, along with the editor of a newspaper that had written against him. The Colombian government finally turned against him, issuing an arrest warrant and signing an extradition treaty with the United States. Escobar offered to pay off Colombia's $10 billion national debt if they would void the treaty, but the government refused. When money didn't work, he turned to violence. He funded left-wing guerrillas who stormed Colombia's Supreme Court, killing half the judges and burning thousands of legal documents, including his extradition files. By the late 1980s, Escobar's war had killed thousands. His cartel bombed cities, assassinated politicians, and murdered police officers. In 1989, Forbes listed him as the 7th richest person in the world with a net worth of $25 billion, even as he continued to kill anyone who opposed him. After years of bloodshed, Escobar negotiated a surrender in 1991, but only if he could build his own prison. The government agreed. His prison, La Catedral, had luxury rooms, a bar, a soccer field, and even visiting celebrities. From inside, he continued to run his empire as usual. But after he tortured and killed 2 of his own men inside the prison, the government decided to move him to a real facility. Before they could act, Escobar escaped. He remained on the run for over a year, hunted by Colombian forces, the US DEA, and a vigilante group called Los Pepes, formed by his enemies and victims' families. On December 2, 1993, a day after celebrating his 44th birthday, Escobar's phone call to his family was traced. Police surrounded his safe house in Medellin. As they stormed the building, Escobar tried to flee across the rooftops but was shot multiple times. Some say he took his own life to avoid capture, just as he had promised. The death of Pablo Escobar marked the end of an era. For the Colombian government, it was a victory, but for many poor Colombians, he was still mourned as a hero. Over 25,000 people attended his funeral. Even decades after his death, no one has reached his level of wealth or infamy in the drug world. Pablo Escobar remains forever known as the King of Cocaine.